Hello, friends and countrymen. Uh, Welcome to another, hopefully error-free episode because as of late, technical difficulties have been really technical. But nonetheless, we are here. It is another episode of the Take Time Out with Trey Mosley podcast. I am your host for however long that this computer lasts, Trey Mosley. And today, something we don't do often, but we have a twofer. And the twofer are two good friends that hail from the Midwest. Um, some may call it. Do they still call it the Queen City? I guess they do.
I'm not there anymore.
Hold that thought. We got something to talk about now. So how about that? But before we begin, let me introduce you to their works and their wares. Take a listen to this.
Evo IRM1 assembled. Microprocessor activated. Starting dynamic cleaning engine.
Are you ready for more Augie and the Cockroaches adventures? This time, our favorite cat is joined by a new friend, Pia the baby elephant.
By the grace of God, Morgan Luttrell survived a deadly helicopter crash that left him with a broken back and a traumatic brain injury. Determined to get back in the fight with his fellow Navy SEAL teammates, Luttrell rehabbed, recovered, and returned to the front line. There's a good chance that when you took your first breath, we took your vital signs. From birth or any time along the way, we've been your partner for healthcare. So while you handle the life pressure, we'll watch your blood pressure. There's only one destination. Just stream your fascination. The True Crime Network. Download the free app.
Few records document this war crime. Among the most precious are secret diaries kept by GIs, like medic Tony Acevedo.
It was risky. As long as the commander didn't see me with it, I would have been beaten up.
Aleve Arthritis Pain Gel, clinically proven topical arthritis pain relief that works at the site of pain. Prescription strength Aleve Arthritis Pain Gel. Aleve it. The sitcom Mork and Mindy premiered in 1978 and was an instant hit.
Me too, Bob. Look under the hat for another surprise.
Soon pulling in audiences of up to 60 million every week. Robin's manic comic improvisations were fresh and unpredictable. Contact 811 2 business days before you dig so you can have your natural gas lines marked. Because every masterpiece should start with safety.
So, with that being said, the clip you may or may not have just seen consists of two of the. There couldn't be two more nicer people in the VO industry, and not even the VO industry, just two nice people. Period. How about that?
Aw.
We have Madame Bobbi Maxwell and the always cool Kevin Kilpatrick. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to you both.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Trey.
Good to be here.
For however long it's gonna be. So you revealed something that I want to get into. You being Bobbi, that I mentioned that you were from the Midwest in the Queen City of Cincinnati, and then you dropped the bombshell, breaking news that you are no longer there. And I may and may not remember that, but I'm old and I drink, so I may need to be reminded.
We come
Where
from the same school, Trey. Old and drink.
there you go. You can't beat that. So where are you now, my dear?
Well, I love Kevin so much. I couldn't stand to be away from him, so I moved to Nashville just for Kevin. No, I am in Nashville, but I didn't move here because of Kevin.
It
My
may have
daughters,
something to do with her daughters and grandchildren.
yeah,
So
my daughters live here. But we are in the same town now, so we get to see each other.
How about that? So you're in the South with an F, the South.
Oh, don't go there.
How
I've already been told I have an accent.
in the irony of a Southerner telling you, you sound funny. Really?
Yeah, twang.
You know, as a Southern gentleman myself, growing up in Florida. But so how are you enjoying that?
In Nashville?
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's hotter, a little bit hotter than Ohio
Yeah.
was, but I'm closer to my kids and my grandkids, so I'm loving life.
Yeah, I mean, Southern living, you can't beat it, man. If you can get over the humidity, um, every now and then you'll get a rain shower that either will last a few hours or a few days. Uh,
Mhm.
True.
and where you are in the Tennessee mountains, you guys will get all four seasons too. So um, that's always a beautiful thing to bear witness to. So how about that? Like I said, breaking news that the great and talented Miss Bobbi Maxwell is now she's a Southerner. All right. This is interesting for me because I don't do duos often on this podcast. I think on record, you guys are either the second or the third duo. Actually, you're the second. So
Sloppy.
Gabe Kunda and Enrique Josephs was the first. It was gonna be Dan Nachtraub and Jack Daniel, but
Oh,
we had an issue that day, so then I had to separate them. And if you know them, it's probably good that I did separate.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
that's
Um,
talent in the house right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They are two talented individuals in their own right. But since I got you both here, first off, before we even get into VO, and maybe this is a direct or indirect question regarding you both, how y'all know each other?
Go ahead,
I
Kev.
um so Trey, I did not know Bobby until what was it, like 2016 or so,
Yeah.
2017, 2016. I had to do a casting, Trey. I needed a female voice for a car spot. And I put out a casting on one of the casting platforms. And Bobby was a finalist. And then I presented her among some other talented ladies, and she got the gig. And they wanted to keep using her, and so she and I hit it off. And but that's how we met each other, was through a voiceover casting.
Wow.
Yeah,
And then we found out we both were in radio, and that really made another bond, so that's how the podcast happened because we were, like, talking about radio and saying, "Oh, man, we coulda done morning together, blah, 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 morning sick." And then one day, it's like, "Let's do a podcast." So
That is, I get, I would say a good percentage of my folks that I've interviewed, all you radio guys. Uh, what is it about the transition from being on the radio that leads you all into doing voiceover? And before you answer that, I actually have a split question from that. Prior to doing VO, were either of you in the arts at all?
the dark arts.
I mean, hey, whichever arts you choose to hone your craft, we
Uh,
we have no judgment here.
I've done theater. I don't, I don't paint or sculpt or anything like that. I've done theater throughout my life, though, on and off. And I'll let Bobby handle the transition from radio to VO.
Um, the transition I did not do any arts. I was on camera for a few things, but no acting whatsoever, unless it was in my bedroom in front of the mirror. But, I
I was wondering,
transitioned.
where's that going? Do you want to elaborate, or is this a family show, Trey? What's going on?
All bets are off. All bets are off.
Okay.
No, I left radio because it had become so corporate, and,
Mm,
I was with a very, very large, broadcast company, and they were giving us more and more duties without extra pay, and, yeah, it was not a good situation, and I was getting too stressed out and had been doing, spots, had been doing production all the time.
yeah.
So, just decided to go full-time in VO, and wow, best decision I've made in a long time.
What was your market? Were you top 40?
It was in Cincinnati, but I was with Cumulus, so they bought out Westwood One, so I was all over the country.
Gotcha.
But your
Yeah.
format was what, like
Yeah, what was
AC,
your
Oh,
format?
adult
contemporary?
contemporary, and then
Oh,
or
okay.
hot IC, either one, yeah.
Wasn't it warm? Wasn't that the call letters
Yeah,
WARM?
Warm
Warm.
98.
Really?
Can't you just
Mhm.
imagine it, Trey?
Wow.
What was your
Warm.
frequency, Bobby?
98.5.
Yeah, warm,
Warm.
98.5.
You're
Trey, you'd
listening
sound amazing doing that.
you're listening to Warm 98.5, all the classic hits of yesterday, or something like that.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's it.
That's crazy.
And
You
Kevin
know,
was Gator down in Miami.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I was at, WKIS in Miami for 10 years, and, yeah, my radio name was Gator. And similar to Bobby, Trey, I got out of radio because of the corporate nature. I was, watching all these legendary DJs lose their gigs, and I did not wanna be the guy in my mid-50s looking for a radio gig, because
Yeah,
it would have meant, "Oh, I have to move somewhere most likely," and I wanted to kinda control my own destiny, so in 2004, I made the leap, took the chance, and, haven't looked back.
got you. Now, are both of you from the Midwest? Is that where, your roots began, or what led you there?
I'm from the Midwest originally. I worked in Vegas for 2 years.
Huh,
Yeah, and then back to, Cincinnati and then here.
Yeah, I was born, Trey, in Illinois and lived there till I was 12 years old, and then my roots are basically in Arkansas, which is where my family's from. Woo Pig Sooie.
oh, pig suey, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, but then so Illinois, Arkansas, Florida for work for 10 years, and then Tennessee. I moved to Tennessee in '05. So, yeah. Yeah. So I've got, a sampling of accents that I've dabbled with along the
Uh,
way.
that you do, sir. You that's a well-rounded, traverse that you have done.
Yeah.
Um,
Kevin, I did not know you lived in Illinois. You've never told me that.
Oh, really? Yeah,
oh,
lived right across the river from St. Louis, Missouri, right next to East St. Louis, in a town called Cahokia. But yeah, that's where I was born and lived till I was 12 years old. That's how I became such a huge Cardinals fan.
I was just gonna say, it's gotta be why.
that's not too far from Carroll Stream, is it?
Carol Stream?
Illinois.
I'm not sure. I thought that was up north. I don't know, man. I lived there when I was 12.
Oh,
So
that's a long time
what do I
ago.
look like, Magellan
Meryl
over here?
Streep
I
lived
don't
up the
know.
street.
Oh, boy, I know, and you definitely do not like Magellan. Magellan, you're a well-traveled man, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So, do you recall, and like you both said, you it got to a point that radio was becoming too suit and tie. The suits were taking over too much. Um, so the transition, was it like, okay, radio's done. So about this VO thing, who introduced you to it? Was it something that was kind of on the back burner that you said, you know what, I think it's time to make that move? Because no one just wakes up saying, unless you're Bob Bergen, who said he always wanted to be a voice actor. But for the rest of us, you know, there was a trigger, an origin story, if you will. So what prompted you both to say this is going to be the move?
I think mine was just because I did so much production for the station. And then somebody told me, it was one of my clients that I worked with through the station, said, "Have you heard of pay to plays? You can get voice work on pay to plays." And I was like, "What is that?" And I just did some research and went, "Oh, wow. The jobs can be right there. The auditions can be right there." And that was part of the draw to get into just doing voiceover because I knew I wouldn't, the agent thing or manager like that. I knew that was a long ways off. So it's like, how can you find the work?
Yeah.
Yeah, Trey, I had a local, I started in radio in 1987. I was a senior in high school, and this guy that had an ad agency in a small town in Arkansas hired me to do spots. He heard me on the air or he heard me doing something and hired me to do spots now and then. And I ended up becoming kind of one of his go-to guys. And this was in this is all during my radio career, as a matter of fact. So I did some spots on the side, and Trey, I was cutting these, I was putting music to them, And then I was putting it on a reel to reel. And then I was running to the post office and mailing him a reel to reel tape. And my gosh, if I got the spot wrong or if I said the word wrong, I mean, there's no quick fix anymore. Or
No,
back then.
back then, yeah.
Yeah, no quick fix. So I started doing that a little bit. But even then, I didn't even think about voiceover as a full-time possibility because I love being on the air. I love being a clown and joking around and getting to express myself in these things. So let's go towards the latter part of my radio career, and let's say 99, 2000, down in Miami. I'm seeing a bunch of other voice act or radio talent do car spots on the side, 2 or 3 specifically people that introduced me to it. And one of the guys was like, "Hey, Kev, I think you would do good reading a car spot. I've got a client that needs a voice." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll give it a go." And he's like, "Oh, PS, it's going to pay you $150. I'm like, "What? What? I could do that in 3 minutes, you
Yeah.
know? And so I did it. And he's like, "Hey, they liked what you did. They got another one." And it just kind of kept building. And so around 2004, I had a little bit of a base of income coming in from car spots on the side.
Yeah.
And then I got approached by United Stations Radio Network to do some imaging for a couple of their national shows. I wish that gig had last, but it didn't. Um, and I know now why, because I wasn't that great. He hired me because he was a nice guy, and I'm a lot better now. But back then, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I used automotive work to kind of transition from radio to VO full time.
Nice. It's always interesting to hear how folks got, well, here. Um, for me, I, like you all, got tired of corporate work, not necessarily on a radio station, but just corporate America, period. You know, I tip my hat to those who do it. Um, but I just felt it was never for me. I was good at my job, it paid well, and you get to a point to where it's like, all right, time to go to work. All right, I'm doing work. Hey, I
Same
got
thing with VA.
paid. Yay. Oh, you mean I gotta do this again next week? All right, going back to work, and I always felt, even as a kid, I was a performer. And I've told the story to friends where me and my buddies would hit the tape recorder and then we would, get our toys and do a radio play and I will defeat you and all this type of stuff. Um, Never knowing that the circle is now complete because now it's something that I do and love to do, and they put a couple of coins in your pocket for your
Yeah.
time. So it's really cool to hear different folks' origin stories because you know like you said, you dabbled in the arts here and there, but Bobby, other than her mirror, not so much. Um, you know, I've had folks who, were in theater from the moment they could speak, and then they made the transition. So it's always fascinating to see what uh, you know, where the draw was to this thing. I think for me, what I also enjoy about uh the journey into voiceover, you discover things about yourself that maybe you didn't know, or you go, i'm, I'm pretty good, or oh, I didn't know I could sound that way. They always say don't fall in love with your voice, but if you've done a good narration or a good spot or something and you get to see and hear it, you kind of go, i I did good on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not I don't think it's a bad thing to kind of give yourself an attaboy or attagirl, um, because especially in our business, because we're isolated 98% of the time, as we all are in our studios. Every now and then it's a good feeling to feel appreciated and recognized. Um, Speaking of that, you know, there are factions, if you will, of folks who tend to say, well, awards or this or that. Then you have some folks say, hey, I don't mind getting an award. It means that, my peers felt I did a great job at a thing. And, it's a feel good thing. Perhaps it'll help me with marketing. What's your stance on awards and the status that they may or may not bring?
Kev, I'll let you go.
I'm a little bit mixed on it, Trey. Overall, I think the awards are fine and they're good, because it's recognition from your peers. There's an opportunity if you're presented an award or if you're nominated for an award at a big event, and maybe there's an agent or manager there that you've been wanting to sign with, and they hear your name and they go, "Oh, Trey's good. Maybe we should consider signing him." Although Trey's been signed by all of the ones I'm sure he could ever want to sign with. But for others, there's an opportunity there possibly. It creates a halo effect.
Yeah.
Conversely, we're not paid for awards. We don't, the recognition doesn't come in the form of an award. The recognition comes in the form of a paycheck. And our client going, "Kev, we love that read that you did. Outstanding job." And I'm like, "Great, thank you. I've done my job." So a little bit mixed, but overall, I'm fine with the awards. And I'm happy for people that get nominated and people that win. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have to agree too. I mean, the only thing I would add is, like Kevin kind of mentioned, if there are people who could hire you and see, something on your website that says a whatever, like for the Read Awards or political awards, and if there was somebody, a consultant or a client who was interested in hiring me and went to my site and saw that I was nominated for a read, I think it's going to capture their attention
Hmm.
and say, "Oh, well, she must be pretty good." Um, but the only problem I have with awards is when people who do win them or get nominations are constantly putting it on their socials. It's like, it's
Hold
just,
that thought 1 second.
he's going to go get his award.
So I guess me putting on all of my socials that I'm an Emmy nominated voice actor, I guess I should take that off.
No, no, no,
Okay.
no, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. I do the same thing. It's when you're constantly every post saying, "I'm this, I'm that." See? He's got
What?
his
What about the awards? Who needs awards? I don't like them. Who cares?
And see, you kind of beat me to it. I was gonna say, who amongst you has awards? And Kevin has already answered that question. Um,
Oh, Bobby does too.
yeah,
Bobby has too.
I have. I mean, if we're showing hardware, um, here on my desk, I have my One Voice
Nice.
award, and my Sovas is downstairs. Because honestly, I have no room up here. Anywhere where I could have put an award, they're filled with toys because I don't never want to grow up. So I have Transformers and GI Joes and Wolverine and a whole bunch of stuff. So, and I was really, really hoping I won the Emmy this year because I would have cleared everything off like you sit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
we'll get them next year.
But that nom is pretty sweet, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because when it happened, there was this initial like, Me? Like, you
Mhm.
sure? Like, not Trey Johnson, or no, it's you. And it took a moment for it to sink in. And it's no slight to any other award or recognition that I received, but you know an Emmy, it's an Emmy. And I had to kind of sit in my thoughts like, this is this is pretty cool. Even to this day, um, so they give you a thingy, big envelope with that says congratulations, you've been nominated. So I have that, and it's just real cool. Perhaps this time next year I'll be like, hey, like, I'll be right back, and go and
I hope so, man.
like, look what I have.
And then you got to go for the EGOT.
Any Emmy, Grammy, Oscar,
Oscar and Tony.
Tony. Yeah.
I
I
know a
used to see
Tony.
Trey on Broadway.
I know a Tony and I know an Oscar, so I guess that will.
Close enough.
Now, strangely enough, I am writing a song, but who knows? Will it be Grammy worthy? We shall see. But this ain't about me. This is about you all. Um, One thing I love about our industry and is you can be friends and still be competitive. Uh, for you guys being the good friends that you are, um, do you ever? And I know that we're speaking male female, but still there may be some jobs that they don't. It's unisex. They don't care who or what you are.
Mhm.
Can you do the work? Have you ever found yourself like competing for the same gig?
Mm. I don't know about gigs. I know we both
Bobby,
go
we actually have. Bobby,
oh,
you and I have competed for gigs.
More
automotive?
bombshells. I love it.
I don't know if she
Automotive?
knows this. Automotive. So for example, oh, no, no, no. The, Bobby got a Marvel gig that I also read for. I have
Oh,
this great client, Trey, that manufactures toothbrushes, right? And they license with Marvel. So
nice.
they create these souvenir toothbrushes. They're like 300 and something bucks. But they're
Wow.
collector's editions. And so Bobby, it was Iron Man, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, was
so
Iron Man. Mhm.
so I submitted myself, of course, I'm gonna submit myself among Bobby and other talents, for the Marvel thing, but Bobby got the gig. And I've done the same thing on automotive stuff where there's other client, he didn't know if he wanted male or female, so I pitched Bobby, pitched me, a handful of other talents also, and I got that. So you burn. So there's that. But Bobby, yeah, I don't yeah, so Trey, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, she and I have competed for
I
a
didn't
couple of
realize
gigs.
that. I'm learning so much today.
And this is why we do this.
Yeah.
Now, she's gonna call you later on. You mean you? So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
you you've
Oh, and when I submitted her audition, by the way, for all these things, I put her volume, like, down here, and I put mine way up here.
Of course
I'll
you
throw some
did.
crackles and I'll put a turntable in the background and record it again, and
I
yeah
think we
you
both
I
submitted,
sabotage.
I think we both submitted in the same category for the One Voice Awards on something. I can't remember what it was. Explainer,
Uh,
maybe?
yeah, Explainer. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
hmm.
and I did not get nominated
I did
for
not
that.
get nominated.
Okay.
Now I'm glad you brought that up because that was my next question. What is your bread and butter VO? Like for me, 90% of my work is promo. I love commercials when I get them. Matter of fact, I have a commercial. It's like luggage. I can't leave it anywhere because I have to take it with me. I did a commercial for a farmer, not farmer. See, that's the southern in me, a farmer. Uh, a big pharma spot. It debuted in 21 and we're in 24 and they just keep renewing the damn
Yeah,
thing.
and I've heard it, Trey. I've heard it. Remind me again what it is.
Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, why did you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia?
Yeah, oh, that's right, pneumococcal pneumonia. We talked about your struggles with the pneumococcal pneumonia.
Yes, yes, yes.
Don't mess
And
that one up.
I will never forget the word pneumococcal pneumonia. But yeah, so what would you say is your bread and butter, either of you?
Mine is definitely automotive or anything announcery. I've got the casinos and, that type of
Political for
announcer
you.
work. I don't want it to be. I mean, as many as many people I coached with to get that out of me, I still get hired for it, and definitely automotive is top. Automotive and political.
Hmm, Kev?
Yeah. For me, Trey, I probably about 50% of my income is automotive. Um,
Wow.
actually, just less than a year ago, signed an exclusive retainer agreement with an agency, actually. And I know it's unheard of, but it just the numbers worked out both ways for the client, and plus they get exclusivity on me.
Yeah.
So, but we have a great relationship. I've been working with them for 15 years,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
been very close and tight. And now I manage their roster. And Trey, I've had you read a couple of times for this
Yes.
agency in the past.
I um, to to my recollection, because again, I'm old and I drink. Let's see. I got one. I maybe have 4 automotive spots total. I would
Okay.
love I would love more. Um, and I have a buddy in Miami. His name is Michael Kennedy, and he the way he markets to get automotive stuff is it is incredible. I think he said he's approaching 2,000 or so automotive spots he's done within the past 4 or 5 years. Like, he is eating them alive. What is it about, there's certain genres that we kind of just find our groove and we just zoom, we go with it. What do you feel clients love about your delivery when doing automotive? And this is for the both of you, since it's a bulk of your work.
Hmm. I always thought that I was too energetic or too announcery sounding, but Kevin hires me. He hires me a lot for automotive, and he's always said, "But you manage to sound conversational in that energetic read." Isn't that what you say, Kev? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
So
Trey, for me, it's selling motherfucking cars. That's all it is. That's all they care about, man, is moving that metal.
Yeah.
And you talk about your friend Michael Kennedy in Miami. That's where I developed my car sound because, man, Miami radio, in Miami back in the day, in the mid '90s, late '90s, early 2000s, there was an evolution in automotive VO. There were some cool cats doing automotive. Robert W. Walker comes to mind first off. He's,
I,
R-Dub?
I'm Miami's my hometown,
Okay.
so I've been listening to those folks do radio forever. There's this guy. Um, he started out doing stuff for Bremen, all the Bremens,
Mhm.
Bremen Honda, Bremen Nissan, Bremen Volvo, Jaguar, you name it. But he also did promo. He did stuff for WPLG Channel 10 down there in like the 80s. Yeah,
Mhm.
Miami's radio market, just commercial period. Some of the most creative, zany, and
Mhm.
wild stuff that you're gonna hear anywhere. So that's interesting that, of all places around the country, that's where you honed your skills, because you really have to hustle.
Yeah.
Miami's it's a hustling city anyway.
Oh
So
my
they
gosh.
they tend to reflect their spots with that kind of grind that the city has. So yeah.
Yeah, I listen to all these dudes, man, and I kind of patterned myself a little bit after them while over time injecting myself, and now it's just become my own sound. But I don't know who you were talking about. Who did all the Bremen stuff? Can you remember?
I cannot think of his name.
Bob
Um,
Tracy, Rick Sheffield, Alex Panos. He was a very theatrical guy.
it might have been Alex.
Trying to think, man, but yeah, all these guys. Oh, G. Michael McKay. Was it him? Because
I it
that dude did all kinds of automotive.
He did everything. He,
Yeah, way back.
you know so and so. Oh, and there
And
was
that was
one
him.
that he just had this real excitable voice, and
That's it, man.
come
And he
on
was like
down to Bremen Volvo.
199 a month,
That's him.
and
Yep.
that's kind of how I got my William Shatner thing, like, "Oh,
Yes.
this is amazing," you know? But whatever it
Drive
is,
down to Auto Nation now. And
that's
I'm
G. Michael McKay, man.
well,
That's
damn it, I'm coming right now.
yeah.
He kinda had that the urgency, almost audacity. I'm like, "Why does he
Oh,
sound like this?"
dude,
But
he was making so much money, but his sound went out of vogue, and thankfully, I was able to kind of evolve with the times, and I only do, like, a handful of dealers every month that still want that crazy big over the top sound.
I think he's
Thankfully,
still
most
doing it though. Maybe not in Miami, unless someone has mimicked his style, because I heard a radio spot out here and I'm like, "That's the dude from Miami."
Oh,
Or,
and it could be. It
it could
might
be.
be. It might
So
be, but
he
that's who it
made
was.
yeah, he was just, if Over the Top was a person, He
That
was
was him.
he was that
But
guy.
it worked. It
Yeah,
worked. It got
yeah.
dealers' attention, and you remembered there's a Toyota Camry on sale at Bremen Toyota for $199 a month. You
Yeah,
must go now.
just $199 a month.
Yeah, that was him.
And
He was so
yeah,
over the top,
he
man,
was explosive.
and people would direct me that way. They're like, "You know G. Michael McKay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." They're like, "Get big like that." And I'm like, "You could just hire him, you know?" And I'm like, "But no, I'm gonna take it," you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's so okay. Yeah, he was the guy. He was like the
Oh,
car
he
automotive
was.
because he radio and TV. I mean,
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
was there was no station you could turn on that he was not the local car dude.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, yeah, shout out to him being one of the pioneers of the automotive game.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I got lucky being down there and hearing all that because that's how I developed my sound, and that's what I took it everywhere. When the internet came around and we all started doing studios at home, I was
mhm,
able to voice for all these different markets and market to other agencies around the country. So, yeah.
that's cool. So we all well, I started in a little after you. You said you took flight in like '04.
Mhm. Yeah. When were
I
you in Miami, by the way?
from 1974 through 1997.
Oh, so I was there
Wow.
for a couple of years. Yeah, while you were
Yeah,
there.
because
Um,
I left. I'm sorry, not 97, 95. 95.
okay, so I was there like a half a year then or a year, depending on when you left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I left home as a strapping 20 or 21-year-old, moved to New York, um, slash New Jersey with my sister and brother-in-law. And then I set forth to be on my own. Moved to the Washington, D.C. area where I planted my flag there from 96-ish to about 2001. Uh, Fell in love and moved back to Florida um, from 2001 to 2021. And now I'm here in the great city of Las Vegas. So
Very nice.
being all over this great land, literally, because that
You
drive
have.
uh, cross country in 2.5 days, I would
Woo.
remember those 8 balls you were shaking that says, "Don't." I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend.
I thought you were talking about another 8-ball tray because you were so tired you had to get bit.
Oh my god.
VO After Dark, starring
Yeah.
Kevin Kilpatrick. So, is there a genre that you want to get into?
Bobby?
Oh gosh. Um, I want to get into it more. I've dabbled in promo, but I definitely I want to do network stuff.
I can hear it. You definitely have, uh, you know, I could hear you on one of those Lifetime spots where she couldn't take it anymore, and then there's a sound clip. He was asleep, and I just grabbed the knife, and you know, wives who've had enough. Sundays at 9 on Lifetime,
Yeah.
something like yeah.
That's
I hear
right.
that, you know. But Kev, what about you, man?
I have set my sights. I'm so lucky, man. Things are kind of on auto, knock on wood, autopilot in a way. So I've set my goals high for movie trailers and to try to become somewhat of a player in that world. And I know it's an elite club. And I know, Trey, you've had some success and some inroads there. But getting into it now, I'm training for it. I know it's going to be hard, it's going to be challenging. And the landscape has changed over the years. But I'm going to give it what the F? What have I got to lose? Nothing. I'm going to
Yeah.
go for it. Yeah.
It's crazy because um 20 years or so ago, when you would go to a theater, maybe 70% of the trailers had some type of voice on it. And
Mhm.
not just at the end, from the beginning. Paramount Pictures presents a new film by Martin Scorsese, and then they go into the actual movie, and then they'll name the actors Kiefer Sullivan. And then
Mhm.
whatever the movie is, rated PG in theaters August 12th. Now most of the trailers, which are really just extended uh, TV spots, are on television. And, for example, since I am going to see Deadpool today, Morrow Studios, and then they'll show 2 minutes of the movie, and then just like, in theaters, so and so and so. It's like, oh, so you have something, a little bit of something at the beginning, and then a little bit of something at the end, with all the meat and potatoes in the middle. It really has changed so much. But I will say this: overseas, they still do it the way we used to do it.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, I auditioned for a couple of I'm sorry, cinema, not theaters. Uh, in cinemas July 3rd, overseas. So they still do it the old trailer way. Um, it's interesting how usually we say to ourselves, okay, when I get in VO, I want to do this, 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 and this. And then when your career starts, you may not get to that point until 5 or 10 years down the road. When I got into VO, I wanted to do video games and animation. Didn't get my first video game until 2019, 10 years after I got into the business. So I did a lot of pay to plays because I didn't have representation, or I did a lot of things where I would just market and reach out to production companies or small businesses saying, "Hey, I went to your website and saw you guys did some whatever. Like, if you need a voice for any of your projects, I would, love to earn your business," and just found work that way. Um, what would you say to someone who is on the other side of the glass and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool what you guys do, and I want to do that," and they think it's easy?
Mm.
Explain to the kids the rigors of actually um, not only finding work but sustaining work, because as we know, with every valley and every hill, there is a high and a low.
Yeah,
So,
Kevin and I have talked about this, on our podcast. Um, I don't think that those people realize how much work there is to be a voice actor. It's not just getting the jobs and getting paid for the jobs or even sounding good or having a great voice. It's literally a business, and if you don't know how to work the audio end of it, if you don't know how to do the bookkeeping end of it, if you don't know how to do the marketing end of it, you're good chance you're going to fail. And I don't think they know that going in. They think it's going to be an easy ride.
Yeah. Trey, I've got on my website, I've got a blog that talks about getting into voiceover. And let's see, getting into voiceover. On average, I'm asked about getting into voiceover once a month. And it's probably a lot more than that, actually. A few things that you got to be: an actor, a sound engineer, a marketing pro, a business manager, a self starter, accountant, on and on and on and on. People don't realize that. And for those that are considering it, you have to be a great performer. Okay. It's not just reading with a pleasant voice. Not
no,
at all.
no,
Maybe way back in the day, it was like that. But now you have to interpret, you have to connect, you have to feel, you have to bring the truth and the writer's intent from that script that you're doing to the table. That's your job. And that's about 10% of the time. The other 90% is doing all this business BS. So
yeah,
so that's what I would tell people, and I tell them whenever I get the opportunity to chat with them a little bit. And sometimes they're all starry-eyed, Trey, and they're like, "Well, my cousin's mom told me that I have a good voice and that I should do voiceover." I'm like, "All
Yeah.
right, read this script, make me believe you." And they're like, "Oh, stumble, 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 stumble." I'm like, "You hadn't even read it smooth. You got to read it smooth and then interpret it, you
yeah.
know?" They don't realize how challenging it is to get to work and sustain the work. I'm gonna tell you a quick story real quick, Trey, that I know a guy who is hugely successful in this business, and we were chatting one day about his work and his work model and stuff. And this is maybe a couple of years ago. And he says he has to start from scratch every single month. And I'm like, "You have no recurring regular clients that
Yeah.
come back?" He's
Whew.
like, "Nope. I audition every single time I can, and the work comes in new all the time. I'm like, that
Wow.
drives me nuts. That'd
Oh,
make
yeah.
me crazy.
Yeah.
But he does well. He does well. He's really, really good. But I could not imagine that mindset. I have always told folks that if they're just getting into this, figure out a way to get some sustainable income coming in. And then we introduce the regular things that happen, the e-learning, the automotive, the political, the bank stuff, back in the day, the telephony work, that's kind of going away some because of AI. But those
Boo.
kinds of incomes that come back around all the
Yeah.
time, I strongly encourage people to find those first and then reach for the stars.
Yeah, those relationships for someone to come back again and again is just so key. And to do that, you've already won. To
Yeah.
repeat clients.
It's vital. Even in my work in the promo world, I had a client, and we had a good rapport, and I was doing promos literally daily for them. And I'm like, this has been a great relationship. And then the next year came and they went with somebody else. And I got a couple of drinks I took. And once I felt better about myself, I'm like, well, it's not that bad. The next year, they actually came back because they were not pleased uh, with the quality of work. They had to continuously chase the talent down just to make sure
Mhm.
he did the spots. I'm like, if you
Mm,
would have kept me, and so that's why we're coming back to you now. And we want to sweeten the pot a little bit, and they had another, zero
nice.
to it. I'm like, you love me, and we had a good time. I think when I think back, actually, when I first got into this business, my cost of living was not where it is now. I was like, if I can just make 1,000 a week, I'd be okay with that. I'm like, just because my apartment was like $600 a month. If I could make 1,000 a week, I could pay my rent ahead of time and just stack the rest. Um, Even our old house, the mortgage was very low. Um, and then you have that shift to where it's like, whoa, I made 1,000 in a day. That's weird.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
I
you go, oh, I made 1,000 in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at your quarterly numbers like, I used to make this in a year. And it's not a place of where you're gloating or you're bragging, but your mind is blown because you remember the lean moments
Mm.
where you were happy, like you said, you did some spots, it was $150, and you're like, "Yes!
Mhm.
Cheese pizza's on me." You know what I mean? And
Cheese pizza. No pepperoni.
no pepperoni. I'm not there yet,
If
but
it had
we
been a
can get a
TV gig,
whole.
we could afford the pepperoni.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
To now where, you may spend $150, on a dinner somewhere. My point is, we get into this business. Some got into it out of just like because they didn't want to do something else. But once you get into it and the lucrative stuff aside, there is a true love that comes from doing this thing. My students ask me and just people in general, like, you've been doing this now 15 years. Do you still like it the way you liked it when you first got in? I said probably even more,
Yeah.
because when I first got into it, it was like, oh yeah, I'm a voice actor, and people like, okay, so what is that? I'm like, well, when you watch a commercial and it's like, buy 2 Whoppers for $4 at participating Burger King. Yeah. I'm like, well, the guy who says that, that's what I do. Oh, okay. And then they go back to their phones like, yeah, he does something with his voice. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that I still love it when I'm up in the middle of the night scrolling on my phone and checking my email, and I see an audition that looks really interesting, rather than wait till 8 or 9 in the morning, I'll go in the booth at 3 in the morning.
Guilty.
Yep, and that's when you know
Mm.
you love it.
Yeah. When you have a client in Australia and it's 8 in the morning there and it's 4 in the morning here or something like that, I'm like, I must really love this
Mhm.
Yeah.
because I actually went to sleep early that night just to wake up and be refreshed to be a giraffe or something. I'm like,
Yep.
this is too much. This is too much. Well, kids, we are almost at the end. So I got a couple of rapid fire questions. Um, what makes your friendship unique? Other than that, you hired her because of a casting, but it usually doesn't happen where clients and talent become friends. So what was it about her or Bobby? What was it about him? Like, you know what? She's a pretty swell gal. He's an okay dude. Like, how do you guys make it work?
You go first, Bobby, because I'm gonna see where you go, and then I'll dictate where I go.
Ah, he's setting you up. He's setting you up.
Yeah. I I think I look at Kevin, and we've said this, he's my work husband, and I can talk to him about anything and almost everything. I'm good friends with his wife as well, but he is not just one of my employers. He truly is somebody that I can talk to at any time, and I really appreciate that, and plus we have a lot in common. We both love sports and, yeah.
Oh, that's sweet, Bobby.
That is
Um,
sweet. What a good
Bless
yeah,
your
dude.
heart.
bless your heart. For me, it was, I gravitate towards kind people. Trey, you strike me as a kind man. I gravitate towards kindness. And if you add a little funny on top of that, if you add some passion for the industry, if you add some competitiveness, that's Bobby. And I'm drawn to that. And she said it. We are friends and we can talk about anything. And we have in some cases and beyond work stuff.
Yeah.
We've connected and talked and done that. And I think that makes it unique. I think the foundation was there because of our past in
Mhm.
radio and these kinds of things. But I think we've gotten to know each other even more over these last few years, and I think we do have a really cool, unique friendship.
Yeah.
That's really dope. Um, I heard Bobby mention that you guys are big sports folks. Which sport are we talking about in particular?
Oh, I don't think we share any of the same teams.
Ah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say like,
Yeah.
oh, it would have been too perfect.
As a
But
matter of fact, we're
no,
going to the Titans-Bengals game together at
and
Nissan Stadium.
rooting for our respective teams.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
she's a Bengal, I'm a Titan. In baseball, she's a Cincinnati Red, I'm a St. Louis Cardinal. So we have that friendly rivalry in those sports.
yeah.
okay. That's I don't know if we play either of you this
We
season.
don't play the Raiders this year, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think
No.
we typically play the Raiders every year.
Uh,
I'm gonna have to look.
the I think we are playing the AFC North or South, I mean. So I think you guys are on the schedule this year.
Okay.
Um, the last time we played the Bengals, they beat us in the playoffs, and we don't talk about that.
By the way, did you
Ooh.
see Burrow's hair? Did you see Shady's back?
I saw Slim Shady. Actually, he looks more like Cody Rhodes, but that's
He
another.
does, he does.
Um,
Coming to get you.
coming to get you. All right, my final question. It's a twofer because I got the both of yous. Generally, I ask my guests at the end. Hence, the name of the show is "Take Time Out" with Trey. So now, Bobby and Kevin, how do you take times out for yourselves?
Go ahead, Bobby.
Um, 3 things. I spend time with my kids and my grandkids. I garden, and I do crossword puzzles every day.
Keeps the noggin sharp. I like it.
I know, we gotta. Ain't no spring chicken anymore. Kevin, how do you take them out?
And I love my sports. So if I'm not, I try to golf once a week if I can, but sometimes that's in my buddy's garage. He's got a golf simulator.
Oh,
And
those things are nice.
yeah, so even throughout the winter, we play in his garage, and there's typically bourbon involved.
Oh,
And then, uh, I love and throughout the summer, man, pretty much every single night after everybody in the house has gone to bed, you'll catch this cat on the couch starting around 10 o'clock watching the replay of my Cardinals. So that's what I do. I love watching crime shows. Um, Sadly, I don't know if it's sad, but I do watch a lot of TV too. But it keeps me sharp with the trends.
true.
Yeah. So yeah, or working in the yard, man. I find I have a pontoon. So about every
Ah,
weekend I'm on the lake. I forgot that.
Yeah,
So yeah. So there's
can I
that.
tell him what you did, though?
uh-oh. Spill it. Spill it. We got a few seconds.
Yeah.
He, got a bunch of us, Nashville voiceover talent together to do a podcast on his pontoon, and
Oh,
Oh
we got out
no.
there, we go down the marina, get in there, get our stuff, sit it down in the seats, and Kevin gets there and ready to pull it back. His battery was dead, because why?
I left the master power switch on the previous time I was out. And that'll drain it every time.
good
So I
job.
was
So you
there.
just had a floating nothing because you couldn't go anywhere. Good
Yeah,
job.
He
yeah.
Until he ran
But
to the auto parts store to get a
yeah.
battery.
I ran to the parts store, grabbed a new battery, and within like 15 minutes, I had it running. So I
Oh, that's
felt
not
good about
bad.
that.
It
Yeah.
was a good time. I
That's
had to
pretty
tell on
good.
you, 'cause you're my
Oh, yeah,
brother.
that's fine. It
You're
was
my
so embarrassing.
you're my work husband.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Um, just before I signed on with you guys, my getaways, um, being that it gets some triple digits daily out here. We got this cement pond in the back that we're quite fond of, so we spend a lot of time there.
Oh, yeah.
Indoors, especially now since it's summertime and she's not back in school, we'll find we try to do movies from different decades. 80s and 90s are kind of our mainstay in the early 2000s. Sometimes we'll just be on the couch and not be together, but be together, if that makes sense. She's
Mhm.
on one end, she's on her tablet
Mhm.
playing bingo or making puzzles, and I could just be out. I will YouTube.
You wear it out?
The clock just does like this,
Yeah.
and before you know it, I'm like, it was sunlight out there, and it's 7 o'clock, and I've watched 34 YouTube videos about something. But my studio also doubles as my man cave. So when I'm in here, now if she sees the light on, that means I'm working. But if the door is just closed, that it's sanctuary time. So I got a bunch of vinyl in here. So I'm either playing my music,
Ah.
uh, be it PlayStation or Xbox or both, or I'm just in here watching movies because I have my surround sound in here, and I'm like, hey, is this sounds not bleeding through the walls? Is it because I'm about to crank it up? Especially when I'm watching action movies, I love the boom and the kaboom and the boom
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah.
So I cranked that bad boy up to about 50, and she's like, "No, it sounds like this." I said, "Okay." So it out there is because everything here is treated, so it kind of sucks in all the sound. So yeah, that's my getaway. And of course, I there's no grill I haven't met that I don't like. So
Nice. Do you have
Has
time to
has
share
Danielle ever taken an interest in voiceover?
she actually has one booked spot.
Hey!
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, we did one of those testimonials where it's like a bad traffic accident and you had to call such and such lawyer to help you so and so helped us get through that. So it was a husband and wife, go figure, and they're driving from I guess dinner or something, and someone hits the fictional us, and she's the one giving the testimony. My husband and I, we just left dinner and everything was going great until, and then there's a part of it where we're conversing and laughing and I'm talking, and then she has to scream like, baby, wake up. No, no. And that's when I called, the law officers of blah, blah, blah. And then the whoever their AVO was comes in and, he can help you do so and so. So yeah, so she has one under her belt.
Oh,
That's
good.
awesome. I was gonna ask you, do you have time to share a couple of, pieces from your vinyl collection, what you're listening to?
Sure. So I love samba. I have a bunch of I would say 70% of my stuff is funk and R&B, um, and jazz. I love jazz in all forms of it. Latin jazz, you know, band room, not band room, big band, jazz. Um, what I've been listening to as of late um, have been soundtracks.
Hmm.
Okay.
I have the Top Gun soundtrack.
Highway to
You
the
better believe it.
danger zone.
Any.
I have the Top Gun soundtrack. I have the sound I love, and I love with a capital LOVE. Um, all James Bond movies, even the ones with Dalton. That's another story. But I have a few James Bond soundtracks. Live and Let Die, which was the Beatles. Actually, was it the Beatles or was it the Eagles?
Oh,
Because I
yeah, it's
know.
Beatles.
Okay,
Or
so yeah,
Paul McCartney and Wings, I think,
yeah, I
wasn't
think
it?
it was Wings, not
Yeah.
Eagles.
Live and let die,
So
yeah.
so I have that soundtrack, the Live and Let Die one, um, For Your Eyes Only, and ooh, something else or rather. But yeah, my collection is very diverse. My father-in-law actually helped me amass a great portion of it because um he used to listen to a lot of vinyl, but he didn't have a stereo or a record player. And he was like, "Hey, I'm coming in town." This is when we were still in Florida. He's like, "I got something for you. Meet me in the garage." And he backs in the car, and we just started unloading crates of vinyl. And was like,
Nice.
Bet
You
there's some
said,"
gold in there.
he said, you always, I heard you say you like vinyl, so here you go." And he has 45s from the 50s.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, we're talking
That's
the
cool.
Dells, the Silites, like
Wow.
some real pre-rock and roll, pre-R&B stuff. I just bought this spindle, and I got some alcohol and I got a soft thingamadoo, and I sometimes that's the fun part, just sitting there wiping them down with the alcohol and the spray and just wiping them down. Uh, Plus, with my music production, I'm always finding different samples, making hip hop tracks and stuff. So I keep
Very cool.
busy when I'm not keeping busy doing this thing. Uh,
Love it.
so, how can the fine folks out there keep up with you guys on the socials? What's the best way to see what Bobbi and Kev are doing?
Um, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and then BobbiMaxwell.com.
Yeah, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm KKVO Guy on Instagram, and you just look up Kevin Kilpatrick on Facebook and Kevin Kilpatrick on LinkedIn, you can find me too. Yeah, don't do a ton of social, maybe, once or twice a week, I'll put something out there it's not most times it's probably not VO related, but sometimes it is. But anyway, yeah, I try to live my life mostly, and, then I check in on the socials when I can.
And we can't forget your podcast. Please plug away.
Oh, we are the Making Waves VO podcast, and you can find us on Apple. I was just Apple is our biggest source for people listening. Spotify is second, and then
I think it's in the reverse for me. It's
is
Spotify
it
first and then Apple.
that Apple? Okay, okay. But yeah, we're out there making waves, waves with a WAVS minus the E because that's the audio waveform. But yeah, we're you can find us, and we put out an episode a week. And if you go back a couple of weeks, you'll hear
Right.
this striking young man being interviewed by Bobbi and I.
That is correct. That is correct. All right. Well, I have held you too long enough, and I now release you. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, we don't get twofers often, but I couldn't think of a better pair to have. So thanks again to my guests, Bobbi and Kevin. I am Trey. It is the weekend. So, hey, you out there, go take some time out for yourself. See you next time.
Thanks, Trey.
Thank you, Trey.
Thanks for listening to the Take Time Out with Trey Mosley podcast, part of the Titan Media Network. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. To see the video version of this, you can find us on YouTube on the Take Time Out with Trey Mosley YouTube page. Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching. Either way, we'll see you next time.